and welcome to the Playfly College Esports Tournament of Champions, powered by Playverse. My name is Vincent, joined by Nerdscast right beside me. I'm excited to get this thing underway. We're jumping into Valorant. Nerds, how are you doing, man?
Oh, I'm so excited, right? We have a tournament that's literally called Tournament of Champions, and we are here with the group stage opening up. These teams are fighting tooth and nail to get back up into grand finals, to win it out in the group stage. The stakes cannot be higher, and we have a very interesting storyline for this matchup, which we'll get to a little bit as we discuss, as we dive in. But before that, I think we have some other stuff coming up.
Yeah, actually, why don't we jump into it? We got rosters to talk about, can kind of discuss. This is actually a spicy rematch that we got to see in CVAL not very long ago up against Baker and Cumberland Phoenix. I am excited to see this. This was a 2-0 last time we saw these two teams, but I want to ask you first and foremost, Nerds, any individuals that stick out to you that you want to kind of talk about and discuss?
Immediately, I want to talk about Demon, right? Demon played last time previously on Lotus, which is going to be one of the maps, a little foreshadowing, on Yoru. And unfortunately, we don't, we're not on Tournament Realm, so we are on current patch, meaning that Yoru has been buffed. And the reason I bring up Demon within all of this as a immediate not even a red flag, but just a glaring issue that could come up is how are they going to incorporate the 8-second ultimate, the 8-charge ultimate, into the way that they play on certain maps. Now, I'm not going to divulge even more map information. We got to keep some of the suspense, but I do want to divulge that one of the maps is going to be Lotus, and Lotus is a very big map. So the way that yours played on that has to be changed significantly.
Yeah, well, listen, you teed it up. It's kind of perfect. We can talk a little bit more about it, dive in deep, because I think what's important to kind of note here is that both teams opting in for a rematch. They want to go back and thinking, okay, well, this maybe didn't go so well last time for Baker, but both maps, both Pearl and Lotus, were incredibly close. 13-11, 13-10 is the way that went down a few weeks ago. So I think it's understandable that they would want to opt back into that, even though they lost that series 2-0. But I think it's important to keep in mind that, as much as Cumberland win that, when you win a series, you don't really go back and look at oh, what went wrong? How close was this? Baker's had plenty of time to iterate on what they did last time and potentially fix some problems.
Yeah, but I like that concept of you're going into this basically the exact same two maps to just try and clean up not only any problems within your game, but team structure wise, you feel like it's a vindication almost if you can succeed with your comp and strategy. Now, I did tee up Lotus and saying all that, and then we got Pearl's gonna be the first map, because now I get to talk about Pearl and how Yoru plays on that. So we're talking about cleaning up certain mistakes within team structure or kind of playing to your strengths. How are they going to incorporate that Yoru? Where are they going to send that Yoru? How are they going to be working in tandem? All of those questions are going to be teed up for the start of this match and answered throughout the series. So I'm personally very excited for how it's going to develop. And more than just that one star player who's the duelist, how the team structure is going to change to allow potentially Baker College to take over the line and maybe even take the first map, considering how close the previous matches were.
Yeah, and I think it's probably a good time to kind of look back at the positioning of both these two teams and where they're at within, well, I guess to be fair, the end of their Playfly season. Baker coming in from the Open Premier circuit, where they didn't really have anybody to contest them in their conference and weren't able to make a run into playoffs. It's the opposite for Cumberland, who dominated in the East Conference. That's usually going to be the better conference in Valorant as well. And then into 3 straight 2-0 wins to knock out Premier playoffs and take the W as a whole. So I think that, Cumberland come into this as the team that I think if we're talking about expectations, you got to put those higher expectations on them, especially when here in Group A, Cumberland beat Baker in the opening best of 1 matchup. Again, I don't actually know the map or what the score line was, but a win is a win, and the fact that Cumberland are now down here into the lower finals of Group A, looking to get that repeat matchup against Northwood, who they lost up in the upper finals, that's going to be highly important, and Cumberland are going to be setting their sights a little bit further forward. And I gotta wonder if maybe that's a mistake, considering we're on this repeat, looking back towards Pearl Lotus as our opening 2 maps.
I'm gonna go with the narrative that it's less of a mistake and more of we're trying to fight our way through, rewrite the narrative. But that is another really interesting point of like, will Baker be able to kind of mend some of the stuff that they did? Is something you brought up a bit earlier. And that's where I'm going to actually highlight a entirely different player, and it's not even on the Baker side. It's actually going to be Woody off on the Cumberland side, Cumberland Phoenix, where they were playing Tejo. And you're talking about meta reads. This current patch still hasn't changed the way Tejo has been played. So if you have a really good setup there for someone like Shooter R, which was the previous player that played in the CVAL match, you can have a good amount of setup, especially when it comes down on Pearl. Long sight lines and even more of that cringe post-plant meta can really help a team get carried over. I know we have to talk about it. It's Valorant, the hero shooter that has the most silly meta on the post-plant, but that's the case, right? Like, you have a good meta read, you're allowed to win, which brings up the next point. How did Cumberland Phoenix, they won, right? They won with that meta. Yeah. How did Baker College manage to do so much? Well, it's the rest of the Baker roster. They had KJ play, and now with the Tejo changes, KJ is more viable. You had KO, you had Sova, and you had Astra. So 4 other teammates that can set up Demon on that Yoru and play another version of the cringe post plant.
Yeah, it's been looking good. And I think, to be fair, like the way that Cumberland have kind of approached this when I've seen them previously play on the composition that you're describing, yes, as well, I think they've been very effective at that strategy. They've looked good. They've had very positive things to talk about with regard to them, and then they've been proving it too. Because listen, Baker as a team in general, I think, both during the fall semester and then into the spring semester, they were a team that were starting to surprise people. They got some big upset wins, and I think mostly, not entirely, but a lot of those upset wins initially, teams not really taking them seriously. Now teams are taking them seriously, and that's where my concerns start to come in. But I also want to maybe claw back on that, because Cumberland got a lot in their plate. Baker, unfortunately, out of CVAL, which is unfortunate, but Cumberland are still in there. They've got a matchup against Northwood coming up soon. It's a very busy time, for all of our students out there to begin with, and coming to a land, lots of CVAL matches. There's a lot going on for Cumberland. I do think that they've got to be careful not to burn themselves out.
Yeah, burnout can be a huge kind of like factor within this. I could just imagine like recalling talking to the people like from Winthrop. I've actually talked to Cumberland, the coaching staff and like the staffing that they have there. They do have pretty solid structure for that team to maintain like a good balance of both working on the server and working in your classroom. And I think it's just to like get into like the metagame aspect of it, is like, because you have like, yeah, I mean, hey, it is currently May. I don't know about y'all. I had my midterms, right? Like we have that stuff happening within the esports space here in collegiate to kind of call out and give some hype to anyone who might be watching. So don't ever let that detract you, I guess, from wanting to join a program like this. I guess this is less of a analytical point and more of like a hype point for the players here. Because as much as Cumberland, like they do have CVAL as well as school, you can't knock down all of the prep that their opponents might be doing, not only in CVAL, but also in this matchup that we are getting straight into.
Yeah, big news as we'll get agent select underway. Looking out for any adjustments, but to be honest with you, I just don't anticipate to see too much of any of that, and it looks to me like mostly going to be the same.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I might see as an adjustment is maybe a shift. Now, there isn't a shift. I was gonna say there might be a shift to Tejo, but I don't think they need it. As I mentioned previously, you do have this sort of setup of a volley of utility, and you allow Demon to just play on their own, be the Demon 1, the Jojimo, the Jogamo, right? Like, you play as that star duelist and allow the rest of the team to set up that post plant. So on the flip side, you see it's a little different in terms of strategy, right? Vice is very solid, not only at stalling, but being an active initiator style sentinel on the lurks deeper into the game when they do swap onto attack. And that being said, you are also going to have a lot more retake potential with this defensive lineup that we're seeing out of Cumberland Phoenix.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the concept that you're kind of leaning into, is like the active lurk versus the passive lurk in Vice lends itself to the more active side of that, as opposed to a Killjoy that often is going to be a little bit less so on the active and more towards the passive. But into the action here very quickly, we would hope, as I've done it. That's tragic. I've
Oh,
caster cursed that beautifully.
that is the best timing.
Our producer, as I'm starting that sentence, goes and says tech pause.
That is hilarious. And it's even worse because it's the Sentinel that's going to be detracted away from this. Now, to get into a little more broader scope, JP going down right now isn't the craziest thing on pistol round, but it is definitely going to hit some of the mental here as we're looking straight into the brain and the mind of Nami. They're looking back at us. Oh, no. The earrings are honestly, I think Astra's earrings are probably the sickest piece of jewelry in the Valorant in general.
I don't think I can contest you on that. This is a classic RH Dad angle, though. Shout out our observer.
Dude, it's the best.
This is how to know if you're ever curious, like who. We don't do a good enough job. Like as a whole, like we don't do a good enough job shouting out production staff, like generally speaking. But if you want to know who's observing your Valorant game and you see that, that's how you know it's Rachel.
Oh, are
giveaway.
we going to Vice? Ah, there we are. Vice doesn't have earrings, fun fact.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, to be fair, I don't know that Astra has all that much that she has to best when you consider that there's so many like people with some covered faces in their entirety. You know, you got KO, you got Vice,
You know,
got Viper.
my only other thought process is that like the only other active earrings that I think I remember are probably I think it's Harbor. So now I'm just thinking about earring rankings, but jokes aside, earrings aside, I have an actual point.
I had him in my background.
I was gonna say, speaking of shoutouts, you got to shout out our lovely production here as well, Rare Adam, giving me a shout out saying, hey, Sage also does have earrings. The thing I did want to say about Harbor specifically, though, as we're now getting ear cams, is that Harbor has been creeping back into the meta with the resurgence of Icebox and with the way that Tejo post-plant has been coming in. And one thing I wanted to say, but obviously didn't have time to, was a potential swap up onto Harbor for Pearl might be an interesting kind of cook up as you get to see another kind of cook up and a shift up of what we get to see on the screen. Hi. I mean, I don't have earrings.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to get some.
I don't know if I could rock the earrings, to be honest with you. I feel like I'm just not that guy. But either way, I was gonna say like to tack on to the end of that point there. You know, to be fair, Harbor was kind of the OG controller, one of the OG controllers for Pearl, so I wouldn't be surprised to see that come back through. I am being told though, unfortunately, not sure what the ETA on this, so we're gonna hit a quick break. Hopefully, it's gonna be a faster turnaround. We'll let you know though what's going down. We'll be right back. Hey, I told you it'd be fast. You didn't think that it'd be that fast, though. I gotcha. Just keeping you on your toast.
This has really been a mystery box of a game so far. I'm excited.
It has been. And, you know, it's crazy to say a mystery box of a game when we're talking about a repeat veto of 2 weeks ago. How is that possible? I simply don't know. But yeah, I think that in general, though, we're looking to see, just to reiterate, Cumberland, they had the best of this matchup. If you're just joining us last time out, are they going to be able to recreate that, considering how close it really was?
I strongly feel like if we're going for really similar map vetoes, it's either comfort or there's got to be some changes in prac. I've already talked to a wide degree as to the compositional decisions that both of the teams have made. Obviously, both of them work, right? When you talk about validity within this game, 11-13 shows that both sides of the coin make sense. They are valid. The comps do what they are intended. Now it's just a matter of how it's going to be played on the server and how it like works out, how it shakes down realistically. And it's less of a dice roll and more of like a how are we going to stack the deck in our favor.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, we kind of talked about, I think, more on the Baker side because their composition very clearly lends itself one way. But I want to maybe discuss on the other side for Cumberland. You know, it's a lot on to Shooter, who you mentioned before, in order to create some of those opening kill opportunities. And that's sort of the key. You know, you want to boil things down a little bit. well, I think you have to enable Shooter if Cumberland are going to have a repeat of what they did on Pro last time out. Like that is crucial for this composition to be as good as it can be, and as they have shown in the past. This time,
Ooh.
maybe for real.
Fingers crossed here. Another points to kind of shout out here for Shooter specifically is that they work very close to dropping like a straight 30 bomb, 26. But the second fragger for this roster is J-Phone, right? KO coming in for it. So you really do have that synergy. And talking about team synergy, we see an immediate A main fight here using the displacement of the Astra utility to allow Shooter to get into such a crucial position off rip.
Watch that space. That's going to be something you probably see very often to a varying degree. So Shooter, no stopping though, has backup, and I don't know that they actually saw how much backup here that there is. So into attacker spawn, and Demon about to have a whole lot to deal with. Not the prettiest, but it's there. Shooter connects on another.
Now that you got that one and you got another on top of it, you need to get out, but unfortunately the timing's just been caught by fate. Whether it's a twist or a turn here, but again, these 1v2s, 1vx's, 1v1s are not lending themselves when numbers are stacked in your favor. You need to just play them, and unfortunately, they're not stacked in your favor right now here. Baker, again, starting off on a really bad foot.
I mean, that's massive, though. Riceballin tries to come back in, look for the re-clear top mid, and it's all unsuccessful. Beautiful work from the Tejo, and it's all done and dusted. That's the power of taking that map control in the very early stages of a round, is that, you know, if you can win a fight there, which Shooter does, it's even better, but just having and maintaining that space is so critical.
Of course. I honestly think that they're going to keep doing that for most of the rifle rounds. Right now, though, they're having a little bit of a read saying, hey, it is an eco round. We stack towards mid. And the read is, not only is it accurate, considering that there was not much contestation towards A main early round, previous round that we had. So you just set up Shooter here, post up with an outlaw, get early info, and now they know, okay, they are in fact headed towards street.
Well, they got the info, and now they've handled business. They don't know that there's really no more issues in that direction at the moment, but for Baker, slow things down significantly. And at this point in the round, I mean, this is just a matter of like looking for re-aggression somewhere, hoping that they can catch it. But with pistols, it's just unlikely to be successful.
I mean, again, right, we're talking about the story of this. It is a bite back match, trying to like really win this out for Baker would be the goal, right? Get the first 2 pistols, because that's 4 free rounds, but it seems like 2 are going to be given away here. And consider this is similar. This is really different, because the way that it started previously, Baker did pick up the pistols. So it seems like their opponents on Cumberland have also picked up a few things in regards to the way that they play. Because Cumberland did also start on defense the previous time they played this map. So it's literally the same sides and the same map, which kind of lends itself to a different story, considering that they got the 2 rounds up here. Flawless.
When the spike disappears in front of you, that's when you become suspicious.
Was that the yoink?
On your screen? Yeah. Disappeared, and then it was there, and then it was gone. Nothing seen. But you know, right around the corner. Great work with regard to the anti-eco. Not too much to worry about there. I think Nami having to go Guardian mode this round as well. So it's not exactly perfect for Baker, but the good news is, should be plenty. Of all the maps, Guardian's pretty dope on this one, even though I'm not a fan.
It's a good post up out of Shooter as well towards the B site with that outlaw, so they're gonna find a huge chunk of value. Unfortunately, JP is not gonna find any value of their own, and Shooter is now stuck in so much space that you have to relinquish in this moment here. So you know they're gonna lean towards the B site. Now the mid push-up needs to work out here if Cumberland want to sneak away the bonus.
So they put up the Nebula so that the dash isn't required. So Shooter still has all of this utility in order to use to actually have impact. It doesn't matter if you don't hit the shot. Big mid control taken by the defensive side, but B is all there for Baker. There's no issue They just got to wait out this Nebula, and they should be good to go.
And you even have Ladder out here with all this utility, proving why the more passive Sentinel can work out, especially with a slow creep up push. And now it's fractured, right? Cumberland, they are not flooding out together, so the trades are going to be rough. They are relying on a hero player or two here, and Fausto's looking to be the first. Some utility, the cringe post plant comes through, but Rice Ballin's there. And everything shakes out exactly how we expected here on the first and, you know, I guess true rifle round, I guess. You can't even call it that. They had rifles for both sides, but this next one will be another test of force for both these teams.
A very different test as well when you consider the fact that Cumberland were a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more individualistic in that round. Mid push comes through. That's you know, very early from JP, and then you follow that up with the duels out at B for shooter. As a combination that's very individualistic and not something I think Cumberland are going to do every round. So once they get rifles once again here in round 4, look for a little bit of a change up.
This time again, fighting out for a main control, but a bit more passively, less aggressive, giving JP a bit more structure towards the B site. I enjoy it because it allows them to maintain on the defensive line, well, what is basically defense. Just wait for them to come to us. We don't need to take fights.
And crucially, if you're going to take fights, do it with support. That's what Sal's doing right there. Gets a little bit of a duel, falls back. Little handshake, but that's not the case on the other side of the map. Rice Ballin's watching for shooter's aggression, and it's caught.
Oh, they're going to peek out of this together. You talk about support. That's a perfect timing on the flash. Fate needs to counter it and get out of dodge here. It's a 1-for-1 trade, and it is entirely going to favor the side of Cumberland here because they have all of the necessary components for retake. They have low HP on Astra, but even then, that's not going to be a huge factor in the grand scheme. Pull up and lose another. That's so unfortunate on the timings.
Nami's in a great position, but how to take advantage of that right now is going to be very difficult. Might catch the Vice on the other side, but this A site's locked down. 3 strong defensively there, and Nami starts to run away, but this has been heard tragically so by JP.
This entire round has just been a story of timings, but Rice Ballin trying to rewrite the narrative. Wait a minute. They're going to go for the plant now in a 1v2. Spam not found. Needs to go for it, but the trade is there. A 4K found, but you didn't get the clutch.
I mean, Rice Ballin doing everything to pull Baker across the line despite a 4K. It's not enough. And I want to go into kind of why I was actually in awe of the way Cumberland were reacting in that round, because the way they pushed and pulled when they lose areas, shooters loss at B long was, you know, normally a huge problem, but they react immediately. They take a main control, and even after they get the kill there, they allow that to simmer, and then they go back and re-clear art as well very quickly. That was lovely stuff and fast moving from Cumberland.
I like the read to expect something a little quick, so they stack towards the A site, fight aggressively for a main control. Something we've been seeing consistently out of them is the nice pace changes for Cumberland on this defensive side here, but the ultimates now are super crucial to pinpoint together. Immediately we see the first one pop. Null command, enter onto the site.
Makes JP's life very difficult. Oh, gonna take down the KO first and foremost, but good news is that can be recovered easily, and it will be by Nami. Ford fights for Rice Ballin. It's only the 1-for-1, which leaves us even in the post.
At this point, they're just going to fight out towards Street here together. Still somehow won by Phone. Goes for it again. The 4K found here. And this round looked locked down for the side of Baker. But Cumberland showcasing their individual prowess. Nami denies the 5th and looks for it. A clutch found of their own. We have individuals, and we have them on both sides. Baker stings back.
That's magical from Nami. Thought that it was done. Enough opportunity was created there by the KO, but no. Despite an impossibility of a double kill, Nami still comes away victorious. And that one, not the long-term strategy, not the sit and wait back with the util in the post plant. That one up in your face. And I like the ability for Baker to, you know, do both that we've already been able to see
Oh. This time fighting out aggro towards the B side of the map, playing off the Blade Storms, considering that it was a very close rifle, right? That rifle did take a lot of damage in terms of the economy on the Cumberland side.
Well, and, you know, it's not just the Blade Storm here. Obviously, that's there to give you an opportunity, but if they get into a more favorable position, I mean, there is so much available. No Command, Armageddon, Cosmic Divide, everything's there.
It's a matter of how you use it, right? I mean, it's a huge, I mean, it's an eco, right? So they're really trying to go for that hero setup onto shooter and get them active here. Maybe take a rifle or two out of these players, catch a timing out of the smoke. Faust's just waiting there, Rice Ballin, not gonna give it up though. Understands the pressure on their shoulders. Like, hey, if I lose this here, it could mean a snowball for Cumberland.
You are divided.
Speaking of Cosmic Divides, it's the offensive one that gets put into play first and foremost. Demon ahead, right into shooter, who doesn't get a chance to fire off a singular blade.
They now have no setup here, right? Cumberland's gonna try their best to take some fights, but at the end of the day, it's a vain attempt. You cannot succeed. They really were trying to set shooter up, and they had a good read to rotate towards A. Unfortunately, their counterpart was wary of that. They heard the Blade Storm. They knew in the mid-round, IGL was like, hey, we cannot let them find an inch, otherwise we lose, and it's going to be a flawless here. Fausto most likely is going to try and rewrap, potentially thinking street is empty to die towards the spike, but yeah, unfortunately just going to feed an ult into no one. Actually, they already have their ultimate here, so Rice Ballin doesn't really get much value other than just taking down Fausto themselves. Some money.
It's a little bit, I think, frustrating as well for Cumberland, who, considering their investments of both the Cosmic Divide and the Blade Storm, you know, you take the risk on the Blade Storm, you know what you're doing there. But to get literally 0 out of it, that's a little bit of an annoyance.
You don't get much value, and at this point, that's why I think they are going to be buying up some of these beefier weapons. The Operator being picked up here by Shooter and posted up towards the B site gives a lot of... Honestly, it makes me very excited. It gives a lot to the story of how they're going to contest B main control, because they leave Vice towards mid and allow Shooter to just be posted up with an op, potentially find one and dash out.
Early invest there of the Armageddon. That's just to play denial of that area. Stacked up behind it. Cumberland take a fight, see nothing. And so they again look towards Art.
It's almost like they want them to head towards this B site. The drone's going to spot out Shooter towards the minimap. And this other drone's going to spot out player towards Art. So Jayfon's just going to hold position here. Dimensional Drift has been activated towards A. It's a very slow roll, but they're using these ultimates for confidence, trying to catch a timing, but gets timing themselves. The A side opens up.
It does, and Demon gets into the back line, but it's not going to be enough. Sal gets their one, only going to be the singular. And Woody stuck behind a Nebula towards Art's side. Oh, that's deadly. I mean, call this one a wrap. At least it should be. Low HP for Woody.
I mean, you could try and go for a kill or two here, but it's just the fact that there's a pinch on the site. And it was a good call to try and kite them towards the B site. But the fact that you just lost players, I think this is what the timeout's really going to be about, is like, we invested ultimates, we invested a op into this. We had a really nice sort of setup, and Baker didn't fall for it. They read straight into our playbook. Not only do they have, you know, obviously it's a drone for drone in terms of combos, but the individual plays that we've been seeing out of Cumberland on the defensive side. You didn't need a hero, right? It's not a movie moment where we need to peek out mid and try and take an immediate fight. And I think that's what they're really going to be discussing in terms of their structure.
Well, I think even beyond that, right? Now a couple of rounds in a row, we've touched on investing something and getting nothing. You know, the Armageddon, a kind of good example of that. In that last round where, you know, they take main control, but they're not really fast enough to actually, like, take action whilst the Armageddon's happening. So they get the space, but then they immediately have to leave it because they're worried about Art. So that disconnect that you're highlighting, absolutely under the microscope.
Makes me question what the setup's going to be. They don't invest much into this round. Makes sense.
Well, and I think it's also not to put too much of a fine point on this because it's so early, but a lot of opportunities for Shooter to get activated in early rounds, and almost none of those have been successful.
Yeah, I mean, to just talk about the Blade Storm, read a whole essay on the fact that they were trying so hard to set them up. It just was not possible. When they came down to the gunfight, it didn't work. Oh. Speaking of Shooter story, please don't have it end here, but it does. The walkout mid, not proven fruitful.
No, there's no storybook. Certainly not.
I guess an insert of Astra, you could argue it allows them to play that position, but not at the cost of a player's life.
Well, I mean, you know, that is the ultimate like game plan for that aggression, but it doesn't really work if they don't go through mid.
Yeah, it doesn't give them anything. That's what I question for Cumberland. I think they're just playing really passive right now, trying to read the enemy team and maybe get a gun or two off of it. But like you mentioned, it is early in this game, and these early setups haven't been successful. It almost feels like Cumberland's like, okay, we can stand to lose this round and just try and do some economic damage. Woody's going to be able to do that, but even more than all of that chaos on the site, an ultimate's been invested to win this on an eco. That's huge. You're not going to have to deal with the lockdown coming in later on.
That is good news, don't get me wrong. I think also well worth in order to just confirm that that's going to go so easily. Because look at the economy. It's sort of getting out of hand at this point.
Yes. Very
Very strong across the board for the offense, and I think Baker understanding that.
I also love the way that Baker has been. I mean, we talk about changes in how Baker has played. Baker has been really good about ult management. Like, yes, I did kind of say, like, why are we using the lockdown? But they have two other ultimates on the precipice of being built up. They're so close to picking up, I believe, a Cosmic Divide as well as a Null Command out of Fate, which would be the second one this game. All of those things really add up for their story.
I love that protocol that we just saw to take space here in Street. Look at how much respect Phone has given over to just that one copy coming out. All the key bits of utility have already been triggered, and JP has to be here to provide support as well. This is incredibly effective with such limited investment from Baker.
Yeah, they definitely put some time on the server on this map. And I mean, even looking back at their attack side, they went on a tear in the later half of their game. Flash to come through, Demon's gonna find them, Rice Ball's there, and just a really good swing off of them. Shot just does not land for Shooter. They have not been activated here at all. You're gonna have to go huge. Op on site to hold.
Late move from Nami should be the end of this, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, the legitimacy of the timeout called into question, because a lot of the same stuff that we're seeing, like, and it's less about the individual play. I feel like it's more of like some indecisiveness.
I actually want to maybe push back a little bit on that, because
Okay.
I think that we saw Baker make adjustments in response to that timeout themselves. Never have we seen that same protocol coming out for Street. You know, they've been investigatory in that direction, but it's usually been someone making a commitment, but it's never been so fast. And I think that's Baker being proactive and in some ways reacting as well to some of that aggression on the eco round. So I think Baker deserves a lot of the credit for the adjustments in that timeout not going as well.
Gotta give a lot of praise to them. I mean, he started off losing the pistols, and they managed to bring things very much in their favor. Gonna line things up for Ice Ballin', just for some information. They don't want to be swung on by 3 people here, so they're just gonna hold it out.
Just seems so individual. Shooter's gonna come back around the corner, off angle maybe, as well. Even that doesn't work out. I'm gonna keep it a buck. Cumberland looked very flustered.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of to the point what I was making, where it's like, I guess indecisive might not be the correct word, but it just doesn't seem like they're able to commit to something together. Like, Shooter just left out of, just like dipped. It was like, okay, I can't be here. And then unfortunately that left Woody out alone, stuck in the forest, unable to do much.
Context is an eco, but yeah.
Yeah, but
Nothing changed the reality.
still, in terms of like comps and confidence that we see out of this team, it's lacking. And the previous time, again, it was an 8-4 scoreline that we saw on the half in actually in Baker's favor. So maybe it's just a matter of like, we are not the strongest defensive team. They do want to really rely on the meta read of the post plant, of the way that they just have protocols set up to be like, all right, well, if this doesn't work, we just need to at least pick up like 4 to 5 rounds on the defense, and then we can snowball our way through the attacking half.
Usually you need a little bit to work with if you can try that strategy. And at the moment, Baker seem indomitable, unstoppable. Shooter about to be tested. Once again, unfortunately for him, Null Command makes life quite difficult. 2-0 of the Cosmic Divide is a deadly one on this site, but it doesn't even mean they're committing.
I mean, they just gave up all the space towards A. They didn't even leave one. They're really concerned about this. The drone comes out too late, spots out one, but they're committed towards the A site now. Spike's gonna go down.
You can get with the program, right? Both the Null Command and the Cosmic Divide full committed. And the first time there's ever been any question marks about the commitment for Baker, they've not faked at all.
It's just so good out of Baker, honestly. Fawn's gonna push in on their own, just immediately swung on. Literally taking them down mid-utility here. Hunter's Fury is going to be invested. The defuse is getting started. Wait a minute. They're letting it slip. They let it slip away. And it didn't even take a bunch of kills or anything to have that slip. It was just a matter of timing and positioning. They were like, okay, well, we'll just defuse. Play objective.
I mean, the Rose Garden gives them a ton of space to work with. I am a little bit concerned about how disconnected that was, but I guess to be fair, so I think they get a ton of information off the back of that too. They know that they're so disconnected because of the art fight, and the Hunter's Fury was the only option, and they get it too late. That is one with question marks, we'll just say that. Cumberland taking full advantage.
Sometimes you adapt, and sometimes you try things to continue that adaptation, and it just doesn't stick, and it happens. But it's not going to sway them from this fight towards A. They're still going to keep doing the same sort of contacts. Trying to have first contact be out A main. But Fausto's still holding towards Art.
Full aggression out B as well. I mean, they're through long. They're almost in spawn. So they know this is coming defensively to Cumberland. But being able to do something about it's a whole different story. Slow crawl. And Spike will get planted uncontested.
Fight out towards Secret. Shooter's there. Op in hand. Just gets spammed. Demon's out and ready to fight. Woody's going to finally grab the trade, but Fate's back up on it. We do see a little bit of a wraparound here from Ladders, and it's just up to Fawn. In a 1v4. Not going to find much. And it's the exact scoreline. A little different in terms of the way rounds shook out, but it is just the same scoreline that we saw previously for the first, if it should be. Now my math is off. It was a 5-7, so it was a little bit better out of Baker, actually.
What it was, though, is 2 attacker-focused halves.
Yes.
So Cumberland don't need to be too worried here. 8-4 is certainly not an ideal one, but I think they need to keep in mind that it's certainly not over. And a squad as experienced as Cumberland, not going to be making that sort of mistake. Talked about them feeling a little bit flustered. Well, new half, new me. That's got to be the mindset.
We're gonna see it. It's I think immediate brawl towards A main. Nami hears it. They're not gonna fight it. They're gonna allow them to walk into them, double up through the smoke. Trades come out, and it's back and forth. But it's Cumberland to win out on the attacking side. JP though, wary of the timing, needs to be. Still catches ladder. Still manages to catch them and Fate. And immediately the first picked up the pistol by Cumberland yet again.
We're doing it. I feel like this is teed up to be the same sort of close affair. When you look at that and how that round goes down, a round of just small moments, timings, ladder being, one of those. Could have gotten the freebie onto JP, and it doesn't go that way.
Is it the JP or the ladder?
Yeah.
Oh. And it's what a buy up. Just 4 rifles, 3 bulldogs. You put a vandal onto one of them as well. Immediately into a default, waiting to see if potentially Baker plays out to try and find something. But I think this is kind of the change, right? On the eco, when we saw Cumberland, they played out. They kind of pushed their way through, trying to find a player off guard. Whereas on the flip side, Baker's not going to do that. They're instead allowing them slowly walk in before they sting.
Yeah, I think the key difference, right, is Baker. They're just playing a gamble. This is a B play, great. It's not a well, and it will be a B play, actually. That 0 point, great lineup over from that location. That's going to give them even further confirmation, as this utility will certainly make it even clearer.
Yeah, they just flood out towards heaven, and they're going to unfortunately get denied. Rice Ballin did grab Woody, though, with utility, which is a really interesting point, because that denies the flawless within this round. But it's basically over unless someone starts aggressing towards street. I doubt that's going to be happening here. They pick up a rifle as well. So it's 4 rifles carried over. And I think that's another fun thing to note, the fact that they did have JP on the Ghost. Only one on it. Okay. They don't carry over 4 rifles, they carry over 3, but still. Cumberland's slowly starting to bring things up.
That's the power of a pistol round, too. I think it is now time to kind of see what this Baker defense is made of. What is their complexion when we're talking about this team? How do they want to work forward? Because we kind of saw a very clear definition from Cumberland at the beginning of the half, and that definition faded as time went on. It's Baker's turn to kind of now prove what they've got.
Tommy's on a judge, so they're really going to be just holding close towards A. They bought up in the previous round. Ladder has got to have heard that, right? They know, okay. So the rotate comes through. There's a lot of that Sentinel utility set up here. Popped early. No contact has been made just yet. Flash out of Fran did not work either. So they're just going to fight their way through. Shooter has to get active on the site. Nami having validity within Judge finds a second, a third. How are they getting this? They're getting away with an absolute massacre on the site. It's a rifle. It's supposedly a closer round. You carried over 3 rifles. Didn't matter. Couldn't pick up the bonus.
No, not even close. A little bit. Not even in an oversight. Nami just in a very good position. And the judge, no matter how many times it gets nerfed, no matter how many times they change it, it's still goated. It doesn't matter.
It's my favorite gun in the game. Besides the Odin, of course.
It's my favorite and least favorite simultaneously.
That's a very valid opinion. The rifle round continues. This is the first true one of the game. And the way that they're playing this out of Cumberland hasn't shifted too much. Still gonna take some A main control, but this time instead of going towards the art split, they have the stack towards A main. Exploring around.
Deep up B long. Already taking a ton of space.
Ooh, what? That's just a piece of luck. And the flash, actually. That is insane. Fate gonna be denied utility. Needs to fall back towards Art, but they smoke it off here. Armageddon invested on top of that. JP's folded down towards mid. They're gonna plant for this forward position. Spam through. You don't have Art control. Yet they were planting for the Art forward play and it just did not work for them. Now you need to re-smoke into this to get out of dodge here. The setup has been for that cringe post plant. Also needs to get out if they want to win this, and they have gotten their win con. Set up these last two players towards main. Allow shooters to stay and vibe out on the site.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't think they're going to be aware of shooter's position. Takes the shot at the clone first and foremost. Tapping the spike, but it's no commitment. Shooter's got another. Demon almost turns it around, but Shooter has got it done. Big moment from the duelists that we've talked up big time that hasn't quite made their impact known. That's the round that they do.
I mean, someone hit that resubscribe button, all I gotta say, because we're starting to see them come back. Not only in terms of just kill counts, but also in the way that they are playing here for Cumberland. They did a really similar strategy of like, let's just try to inch our way onto the A site. B site's gonna be a little harder for us. This time, it takes some precautionary measures. The only question mark in that entire round was just the plant position off rip. And even then, it was recovered for the rest of Cumberland.
Okay. Oh, nice shot. Straight up duel. Shooter, big clutch in the last round. But it's not going to change the fact that they got dominated right there.
Oh my god. It's like a piece of cheese was laid out and we saw the rats come scurrying. But honestly, that's how you got to play it. We go from one piece of food to another. As a sheriff in hand, Rice ballin'. Has to wait for the Cosmic Divide. Does not get scanned, crucially. I think they get spotted barely. As a rifle in hand, walking up here. Does not clear the corner in time. Oh, so. Aim tightens up.
Yeah, and here we are back in business if you're a Cumberland fan. Two dueling attack sides. That's what we set it up to be. That's the reality. The last meeting here for Baker and for Cumberland, but there's a lot of big tools after that eco for Baker to utilize.
I think the big difference was that there was a lot more rounds picked up. I mean, okay, so looking back at the story of it, it was a lot closer at the half at 5-7. And then we did see a lot out of Cumberland during the attack side. Baker had really good timeouts and like even more than timeouts, not like an actual timeout, but timing the spike out and not allowing the team to plant, fighting forward on the defensive side. And then so it's interesting. 2 of the rounds that they won were defuses. 2 of the rounds were on just really stalling that timer. So now they need to really clean that up. If they are going to go for retakes, how are they going to use it? They have 2 crucial ultimates, the Dimensional Drift and, in my opinion, the Hunter's Fury. Just because those 2 together have been so strong in terms of finding an elimination, getting a kill onto Cumberland, maybe even finding out information on where they're going to go early. There's a lot that can be done with it. And it's not even set up for it.
I mean, I think Baker got to be careful not to overinvest. Tons of info with this Dimensional Drift. That's everything. So it is the early decision. Trying to make this play. How have they not gotten anything there?
And it was, oh my god. It's one of the most impactful ult combos, yet it was played in such an unfortunate way. And it's what I said at the very beginning. It wasn't set up. Ladder's just going to find 2 towards mid for free, run back out, and it doesn't even matter that the ult's whiffed because they just managed to frag their way forward. Fate's going to find one more off-screen elimination, and these 2 walk up towards Art like it's just a little vacation. They're having a fun time exploring, looking at the scenery, these beautiful museums.
I think Cumberland kind of thought they had a little bit more than they actually did there. Didn't expect further aggression from ladder moves after the fact. And so puts him in a tough spot, 2-on-4. They'll think that they might have a little bit of space here on A, but
30 seconds left.
Nami's still around in dugout. There's not that space actually available. Rice ball takes the first contact.
Okay. But they didn't, you know, clear Nami, who finds a double to wrap up double digits and get themselves over the line here. That timeout worked in their favor. And something that our production beautifully pointed out to us that I would like to point out here is that that ultimate didn't reach, because it is not a infinite tube. Sova's ultimate, I'm pretty sure, does have like a limit to it.
Yeah, it does.
50-meter range.
It's not often that it comes into play, which is part of the reason it's so surprising.
And that's the thing. I literally said this at the very beginning of the setup. I was like, it doesn't look like they're set up for it, because that's the first. I mean, talk about challengers, talk about like VCT. Like, everybody sets those two ultimates together, and it doesn't work. Our production giving us even more information. Just again, a huge shout out and glaze to them, because it is about 80 meters, and that was away from that range. So much so that even I was like, no, they're not setting up for it, which is weird, but they did, and they failed. Interestingly enough, out of all of this, it's Cumberland taking the timeout, because the defense won that round off of Cumberland over-aggressing.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing. I don't even want to call it over-aggressing. I just think that, you know, being surprised a little bit. They don't realize the elevated forward position there that ladder moves might have been in. It's been very rare that somebody's fighting there at door, and especially when you're talking about, you know, the dimensional drift, you're going to expect for that to be Demon. And you're not going to be anticipating seeing another person there so fast.
Here.
Walk up towards Art. Bladestorm active. They tried setting Shooter up previously. But look at this setup on the commitment. Spam through. It's a 1-for-1. And they know ladder's here.
I mean, if you take the Bladestorm out, though, that 1-for-1, sure, potential to give away a rifle, but look, Riceball is watching it, gets the chance to take a shot, falls, but does not convince.
Wow,
Well, that's tragic.
A double dump of ultimates is huge here. No utility and no weaponry allows them to activate here. It's again a 1-for-1.
Oh, it could be more. No, Fate falls. And up to ladder moves. The commitments, everything put into this round for Cumberland. And it's going to be just enough if ladder moves can't have something to say. Missed shot for Sao. Ladder moves with 2. Almost. But no. Cumberland, they do convert it. It's a half buy. They had 1 rifle, 2 rifles, I think. And the Bladestorm. And the combo of the Garden plus the Null Command. That's enough.
You know, as every strict teacher has said, almost doesn't count. At the end of the day, you almost get it, but you don't get the round. At that point, now it tightens up the race here. They invested a lot of ultimates out of Cumberland, so there will be more for this defensive side of Baker.
Yeah, but they don't have the money.
I was going to say, they don't even have, like, the setup for it, because they have it, like, to retake towards A, a potential retake on B. That's why I was bringing it up in the first place. Like, maybe they go for something like that, but even then, the reason Vice's ultimate is so good on an eco is that it just brings everyone down to even footing.
Cosmic Divide is really only creating question marks in the heads of Baker. As we can see, there's no commitment off the back of this, but even not so convinced. Now calling it out to the rest of the team that there is absolutely players over on A. Flash is effective versus 1, but not the second. Rice Ballin doesn't step forward into the wall. Instead, steps away.
Oh, they picked the one with their fragment, but then immediately gets fragged themselves. At this point, the only line of hope is potentially, now it's been cut. Maybe get a backstab on one, but it's not going to matter here. Ladder is going to rush out into the fray, picks up 1. Gets a weapon that they could potentially save into this, but when you have 3 players up and alive, you really want to go for a hero play now, especially this late in the game. It's going to be an even scoreline for both of these teams. And again, I mean, this is feeling very much like deja vu for both of these teams. Not for us. This is the first time we're talking about this. For these teams, feels like they've been in this place before.
Yeah, incredibly reminiscent. We've been referring back to it time and time again. 13-11 scoreline. On Pearl that could have gone either direction. Now it's a tied game.
I will give one benefit. The scoreline on the defensive side for Baker, defensive side of Baker, was better. So that's why it's like so even right now. But at this time previously, in the previous matchup, Cumberland was already winning off of just allowing Shooter to be set up. And even when Shooter goes down, the rest of the team's able to come through. Like right now, really trying to allow Shooter to have that space through while JP gets more active as that Sentinel. And now all the cards are falling in favor of Cumberland.
That's a devastating loss out at long. Demon loses. But here's that Riku. Ladder moves, same position, brought back that previous round. Ladder moves, making a real thing of this. Those 2 frags from Door, twice now, have changed the complexion of the round. 3-on-3.
We're going to need to see Fate take it into their hands here. Because right now, they're alone. They don't go for the fight. Again, it's hero plays here for Baker because they're all isolated.
Nami needs to play delay. Needs to get this info and not die.
Yeah, they're going to just get out of dodge. Immediately. We see immediately all the utility dumped on the choke point, but they're just going to spam on through, waiting for the timing. Pop flash out. Nami rises to the occasion, finds one. And at this point in the game, it makes sense. The double is there. The triple contained. And even more than that, like you talk about a hero play. They find it.
Yeah, but that's Nami understanding what their real role is. Their role is to play delay, to buy time. And that's what they do. Get out and then actually take the fight in a much more favorable position. That third, it's just for decoration. They did their job and more. Did Nami.
I mean, you're so right. Nami could have gone down. The entire roster was already there. Well, the other 2 leftover players, more specifically. Now they're just going to try and invest back towards A. Towards A we go.
Well, and last time they were on an eco like this, a half buy. What?
How? How? This is the same. This is a repeat. I've been here in this place before. I'm on the streets, but these guys are just looking to compete. What's going on? Shooter just doesn't have. Like Shooter just doesn't have much to work with. They have to just get out.
Yeah, but that kill from Woody gives them the Armageddon.
That
Talking about big ultimates, right? It was the Steel Guard and the no command, that combo. The last round like this was enough. Woody, no way.
And they're just playing past the Vandal at this point. JP has one as well. This round is immediately winnable. And at this point, I would even like. I'm just gonna give it to Cumberland, but even more than that, I don't want to curse it, but like this is insane. How Woody's able to find a kill fully flashed.
This could still go well. Ladder moves, it's an off angle. Oh no! Gets the visual, but now they know. Now they're aware. JP slides in to provide the coverage. It's a 1-on-4. Demon's gotta go insane, and it's not gonna happen. 2 times in this half have we seen Cumberland on pistols majority, and twice over have they won with that and they're back.
It's just the way that they take contact up on A, and you'd think, oh, this is some like crazy strategy that I'm gonna like. It's an insane it's a protocol. It's like this. No, it's literally been. Well, I don't want to say literally because you do have JP lurking into mid. There are protocols to this. Take contact A main. Have JP lurk through mid. Catch a timing. Get him off guard. Really distract the way Baker's playing. But a huge focal point of both rounds is the fact that Woody has to some degree been flashed and managed to find an elimination, a frag, a kill, taking them down out of the game. Which makes me think of those TikToks where it's like how I train to play in ranked, self-flash, self-concussion the range, and just go for a kill. But all memes aside, this timeout is going to talk a lot about how they've been playing on the retakes, how they've been losing some fights, and maybe even how they've been getting a little too proactive in some cases.
So that all sounds really great. I'm going to keep it a buck. I think this timeout's about how are we not going to be tilted off the planet.
I didn't. I'm happy
Because
you
that's
said
what-
it. I'm happy you said it because I didn't want to be mean, but like,
Because that's what I would be feeling, personally. We've just lost, we being Baker in this hypothetical, 2 anti-ecos. 2 rounds where they had majority pistols, and we've lost them. In a very frustrating manner, might I add, with regard to Woody.
honestly, the fact that it takes a lot out of competition. That's why I give huge props to people who could compete like this, because I know I couldn't. My mental is very goofy. These guys need to lock in here. Bryce Ballin has a Bucky up close. These shotguns.
I'm going to be honest with you, this might be the perfect weapon for the job.
It doesn't
Not
get
caught
caught.
by the roll command? No way! Surely, and not traded. Not traded.
No, the 0 point didn't catch them. They're going to try and plant the spike. This is crazy. They win the fights. They said, you know the remedy to being tilted? Let's just tilt the enemy.
Great Armageddon. This is going to separate Ladder Moose. Now Ladder Moose gone. Demon up ahead. He also falls. That's 2 with the Armageddon. And Nami cannot clutch again. Woody doing it for the squad. It's not point now. Based off of that comeback.
Here, this is where I think the mental is going to crash. Just recession. Like, because you do what I say. You say, okay, we're gonna try and tilt the enemy. We're gonna try and play with the Bucky. We're gonna be a little cheesy. We're gonna be a little ratty, and then you get that swing of momentum, that little itty bitty bit of hope, and Cumberland takes it away at 11-12, a scoreline that Baker has been to before. They cannot close it out, or can they take this to overtime? Rewrite what was once written.
It'll have to be the most unlikely of scenarios to do that. Cumberland seemed poised and ready, waiting, hoping, maybe, that Baker are going to try something absurd, something irrational. That doesn't happen. Ladder Moose still playing around the mid door. Trying to hope for a timing, but it's back towards the A site. That's where they will go. Demon, the victim of so many of these A fights, but he goes dimensional drift mode instead. He's got them all. He
my
sees
gosh.
everything.
So now they're going to pop ultimates off this. The Cosmic Divide has been invested. Dimensional Drift brought back. It's almost like the timer didn't even matter for them. They immediately pop Steel Garden. That's going to come through. Are you going to pop out of this wall here to try and catch a timing? No, you get timing yourself here. They're fighting all the way towards street. The wrap is there here. They fight into you. Nami's going to find the first. Dart onto some more here. It's for overtime. You want this equation to fall in your favor, but you don't have weapons. Lockdown was invested, but your players, they fall. They falter. Doesn't matter that you have ultimates. Doesn't matter that you have all of this. What you don't have is firepower. And at the end of the day, in the immortal words of one of my favorite casters, Bren, it's an FPS game. Bullets are going to fly, and you're going to get shot.
Well, and to be honest with you, I think that round more than anything kind of shows us the back and forth that composition kind of generally we expect to see. We didn't see very much of that. Didn't see all that much of what was our kind of expectations for that back and forth, because Cumberland made it very difficult to do that. Anything that we kind of anticipated seeing was adjusted fast. We saw Woody very consistently winning despite not having any vision, and then I got to go back to it again. Call me a broken record, because I am. You can't be losing against two. To call them an eco is like unfair, but like half buys is also incorrect. That was pistols majority in 2 separate rounds that Cumberland were able to win.
One of those rounds, they didn't even have. It was just a blade storm that got 1-for-1, like 1-for-1 as well. So it's like. You had the leg up. You took down the big bad like shooter. Where is the follow-up? And so that brings us to the fact that this is the exact same scoreline. At the half, it wasn't the same scoreline, but at the end, Cumberland still edged out ever so slightly.
That's right. And with that, a 1-0 scoreline for the series. Not over yet. These are best of 3s. No worries there. And I think the The bigger problem here is that Baker elect to pick into this, and so now they're looking towards Lotus. This has been a Cumberland strength throughout both last season and this season. So I'm a little bit worried for them. I think they should be a little bit worried, to be honest with you. But the good news is they've got a couple of minutes to figure that out. We're going to hit a short break, and when we return, we're going to have Lotus coming up. Well, it's time to get back into the action here. And listen, it was a very exciting action that we had over on Pearl. But Cumberland finding a way, despite all odds in some many aspects, to come across the finish line, the victor on their opponent's map pick. Nerds, tell me, for you, does that spell the end of Baker, or is this a Lotus that we're still anticipating big things?
Listen, I like to root for what makes sense, but I also, in my heart of hearts, will always pick a storyline over like statistics. So I'm gonna say, for the story, for it to go the distance, I think Baker's gonna bring it back on Lotus and like magically somehow like 13-0, like we're gonna be like, wow, and then we have to go to like a decider that's like 50 overtimes or something crazy just to get make this stream insanely long. Jokes aside, I do want to see some changes out of Baker, whether it's victory here or whether it's just confidence within the way that they played. That previous map has probably been infuriating. This one needs to be a comeback moment for them.
Yeah, I think this is a really great opportunity, if you want to kind of talk in those terms, for Baker to prove their mental strength, because again, it's hard to kind of look into the minds of these guys on the server right now, but it has got to be so frustrating the way in which they gave up such a strong advantage in not only those rounds, but then in addition, that map, right? They had the advantage going into the half. They had everything right in front of them, and they weren't able to convert it. So as much as this is a Lotus that we expect big things from Cumberland, we kind of know what they do on this map, and we know that it's very good. I think that's got to be what I'm looking towards Baker for.
Another small little nod. Same compositions that they've been running. So these are comps that they're comfortable with. I wonder how they're going to play them. Shooters on the Rays, I might have more comfortability on that as well. Be like, okay, I am better at Rays than I am at Jet. Second map. Second, refresh 0-0. Scoreline 0-0. Give yourself a fresh start into this.
Yeah, that is an important thing to note, right? Shooter had like two really important moments, but like as a whole, I think we didn't get to see the best that Shooter has to offer. So another opportunity to kind of show that off on a more comfy map.
Jones gonna spot out one. But they're not alone. Info on two, so they're gonna lean into this A play. They know that it's potentially a two-player stack towards A. Minimum.
Well, it looks like that maybe a bit of information, not gonna ward them off, not gonna push them back. No one testing the door just yet, but J-Phone ready to roll, and now has some support in the form of Shooter.
Oh, they're getting trapped. But unfortunately, they just need to fight their way through, and Riceballen's ready for it. A double found early on. As Cumberland is totally comfortable with saying, okay, you guys tried to corral us into a corner, herd us like sheep, but no, we are going to ram our way through.
JP in a good position. Oh, actually in a great position as well. Comes out, says hello. Unfortunately for him, Demon right around the corner. Now JP's got it all to do, but low HP doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all with Shooter support. Cumberland have done most of it, but still a 1v1. And Nami not seen, but finally vision acquired. As Nami goes down, Cumberland get there first.
And I didn't say clutch, but I'm going to say clutch, because that was a clutch if I've ever seen one. You have everything falling out of your favor for Cumberland. Immediately swiped back. They reel it back in, and you think, oh, is it Shooter? Is it one of the... No, it's JP. The Sentinel sedentary on the site, or Sentinel-esque playing on that Viper. managing to really hold and lock down crucially at the pistol because it picks him up on the double.
Oh, that's fantastic. That fault line does a ton of work. Refrags though. JP not allowed to make inroads back towards C. As ladder moves falls towards B. It is the slight gained here for Baker, but at a hefty cost.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, JP's just gonna keep pushing forward. They're like, yeah, you know, I want my Viper spit up early, right? Nice ball in the last line of defense. Doesn't have much to work with. Swarm and surround. Actually, wait, has a bulldog. I'm trolling now. They have it. Potential to sway it in their favor. It's a matter of catching a timing. Gets info and gets taken down.
I can really respect, though, that the Swarm kind of look for a very, I'm going to say, decisive maneuver there towards C. They want to get out and up into the mix, give themselves a chance to win a round where they aren't really invested very heavily. And I think that they do a great job of making that happen. Think about how much damage they did to surviving members of the defensive Cumberland Phoenix. Going to shape up like a pretty significant fight towards Root here.
Nothing
fast swing.
I'll say they're waiting for it to see if potentially attack was going to do something, but tend to not do much. They know that the lurker is here, so they're going to corral them even more towards the C site. You even see a rotate early out of JP for that stall. Have to hit
Playing with the door, though.
They have to at this point. That's what they're thinking. There's still a lot of time for them to back out. Hopefully they don't get tunnel visioned into here. They don't.
There's a lot of resistance posted as well for this point in the round. JP, that's phenomenal. Outlaw rings true. That's into the position into door. JFO and go. Going to regather that back up. Woody gets bored of waiting and forces another duel.
Gonna try and fight into this, and it works. J-Fawn to fall. C-site finally open. I'm happy that they didn't commit towards the B on a fast play. Really took their time on it. Door's gonna open, but you're not gonna find much here for our initiator. Woody to fall, and looks like a bonus picked away yet again. No teams have been able to convert, and it's just very box standard Valorant, very box standard tack shooter to pick up that third.
I think that could have gone wrong in a lot of ways, though. Important for Storm to pick it up, but you know, even beyond that, those were good rotations from Cumberland. They were in the right position to take advantage of that. JP maybe a little bit overzealous in taking the second swing after getting the first through the B door, but regardless, I think it's important to keep that in mind. Cumberland, they had a handle on that round, even though it doesn't go their way.
Nice little setup to take mound control early. We haven't really seen them contest A just yet. It's a lot of that let's go see mentality. Immediately, they recollapse onto them and corralled back towards spot. I mean, at this point, it's just about who's going to have the better mid-round call. Who's going to be able to outthink the rest of them. Because right now, you're clearing out towards the A site and wanting to lean there.
Well, maybe less about let's go see, more about defining by control of mound. Phone, dodge onto the flash. That's going to be great delay, though. So they don't get an opportunity to go through that door.
Still one more towards the B side as well, so it's not like it's entirely lurk-proof, and Woody immediately looks for it. And Nami's going to capitalize regardless. And now the B pivot can come through here, but they're denied. Down to 3v3. JP up into it. Nami's been caught. Trying to get some of that forward space, but not finding much. They're going to allow this plant to go down and play retake because none of the players are grouped up.
Oh, this is fast. This flank. Oh, but it's not going to matter. Sal isn't going to get an opportunity as they look to rotate back towards C or not. No, the time.
They have to. They have to fight their way through. And at this point, they can't win it. Like, that is just such a moment of like, what's the call, right? Where are we going?
I mean, very clearly, a moment of hesitation where they think that there is the time, and then somebody has said in the comms, "Hey, we don't have time." Might have been able to sprint it, but without any information, you know, you don't know who you have killed, right? You got 2 kills towards A. It's understandable that they don't just want to commit with knives out, because that's really what they would have had to do.
Again, right? You always have to assume that there's one towards the C site. Bare minimum. Like you said, they could not commit to it. And it feels like that indecision carried over from the previous game where it's like, okay, we lost that. So the confidence was lost. And it doesn't matter. I think something Sean Garris said, right? I want to make sure that I have no regrets going out of a game. Even if I lose, we did everything we could. Something along those lines.
Steps forward. Makes this a much more deadly hold. There's 3 now here, but Woody loses out. It's up close, but Shooter right behind. There's too many bodies. The defense had 4 ready on A.
One enemy remaining.
At this point, I mean, you've got a timeout. You've got to change something up here. 4-1 start on the brink of elimination. Because, I mean, Cumberland, they're up by 1 round. It's an elimination match. It says it right up there in our lovely package. There it is. The timeout gets called here. Of course, you've been pressured off so much. There are 4 ultimates stacked in favor of Cumberland right now. And you only have one really useful one and one that could be useful in situations for rotates or maybe even to get some early info with that from the shadows. With the Rolling Thunder, really good for either post-plant denial, to deny the defuse, or even to entry onto a site. More than that, I think you just got to talk about some of these rounds and how they've been slipping away from the swarm, slipping away. Wow, my words, slipping away from under me for Baker.
And I think it all goes back to something that we kind of saw Baker work towards at the beginning of this half, which was mound control. This map, more than anything, is really defined by early mound control or early root control. You need one of those two, usually, if you're going to be an effective attack side. And mound, obviously, been contested very quickly, now twice over. And that was a fast save play, so we really didn't get to see that. And I think that the Swarm going to be talking about kind of how they're going to adjust, how they're going to rectify that situation, particularly when, unfortunately, this round's a little bit less than stellar considering the investment and what they have to work with.
I think, honestly, Vincent, I think they think that this wall towards A might be enough, but it's sometimes, I feel like you need to, like, again, you have legitimacy with a Lurk. Lurk has been tested multiple times. There's a lot that needs to change here. An ultimate being used out here. I mean, they're just firing on all cylinders just to get that 5th round on top, not have anything come through. And talk about shenanigans. Ladder moves. Is going to make some moves. Splashes in here. They can't recover a rifle just yet, but they regroup here. And now they'll be able to recover rifles.
Should be able to do that, but they go back towards B. This should be an audio cue. No way.
No way.
That's crazy.
That is the first time I've seen that happen. And they
but the thing is, they know that it's B. They're so boxed in right now.
Oh, they got spot. They spotted J-Fun, but it was like a millisecond spot. It was like a millisecond. And not enough time to react.
No. And as soon as J-Phone sees that he's been spotted, he's swinging wide. Giving him something to shoot at. And it doesn't go perfectly there for Cumberland, but they do only invest the 1 ultimate. Yes, it's a big one, but they still win, and they still have 4 other ults to work with.
And that's the thing about Cumberland that I've really enjoyed, is that they are able to not only really juggle their own economy, but just the ultimates as well. The macro of the game has never been a huge issue for Cumberland. It has been small issues, but it's a lot about just like, honestly, just call out micro for Baker. It seems like sometimes it is micro.
Viper's pick goes out over on C. And if it weren't obvious, if it weren't clear, being requisitioned towards the A or the B side of this map, that's now a guarantee. Salvo comes through, helps to clear out some of that area.
Mark 2.
Good info. There's still 2 out. Ladder gets a taste of their medicine with some sneaky kill. Unfortunately, Ladder's was flashy. This one was muted. Rice Ballin avoids that? What is this utility that's been flying back and forth? They're gonna regroup towards this hit on A. They have to TP out of here. Woody's on the other end of this. Rolling Thunder rip. They are finally taking the site. Demon to find the first on the fight. Demon gets another on the entry. And they needed this. The Swarm needed to get onto here with confidence.
They did. Paranoia there to play delay. But still Garden comes through. That could be problematic, certainly. Gives Shooter plenty of space to work with.
There's just no one inserted on the site. There's 4 of them towards tree. They have to fight. And the confidence has been renewed. J-Fawn up close and personal does not skew it in their favor. It's a little concerned.
Almost.
There's a little concern there because they were corralled all the way towards tree. But the numbers advantage just shines for them. And they just like, okay, we had the confidence getting in the site. We're going to continue this roll.
So that really leaves Cumberland in a pretty rough spot. Not only do they, not have any money right now, that's where 3 rounds straight of wins, but some of those close rounds really come back to bite them, particularly when you talk about the ecos that were, a little bit less than stellar. But in addition to that, they blew all their ults there. They put everything into that round, and they don't win it.
Now they're just going to try and gamble stack towards A. And there has been nothing, no noise made for either side. Nothing significant.
They can comfortably do that, though, when they've been getting Mound for free now for 4 rounds.
Oh, what? A Shooter needing to readjust, but still manages to find the opener here. Another found on these ecos. Cumberland with a stellar read. And now they're going to be able to take all of Root and Rubble. They're going to have that space collapse upon.
Have B, but it's about getting out. Yeah, I was about to say, Jafon's all the way through, and that's devastating because that's the spike now gone. It's back in spawn, where you buy guns, but unfortunately, near irrecoverable.
I mean, nobody's there, but they don't know that. That's the problem. Is there's no info for the side.
By the time they get there, there's going to be somebody here.
It's not even that. It's just more like, how do they enter a site now? They can't. Maybe catch a timing. That's a good start. They have to make a decisive strike here. Viper's Pit's going to be used paranoid to clear things out. They have to just raw clear it on their own. Now they're going to have to run it.
Easily heard, though. Should be known. Yeah, and the Viper on the sprint. 13 seconds. This is going to be a timing game. No, never mind. They wait this out just a little bit too long.
Oh my gosh, wait a minute. The plant goes down. Viper's Pit out. Nami still got taken down with a smoke. Shooter just spammed it out of Mound.
That's absurd. It's how do they keep doing it?
That is a scream-worthy moment. You know that players, because like they're like, yeah, they're so relieved on Cumberland's side.
And nerds, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna toss it out there. That's another one. Another pistol round. The Baker have lost.
It is so tilting to see. Oh, it was such a good read to be like, well, let's just stack A. And to the point you said, oh, we've been getting Mound for free for a little bit, so stack A. What is this? This is criminal behavior.
Well, this is what I've been talking about. They're so committed to these fights, and Demon. Oh, it's so in defense of him. They're in a bad spot. You gotta get desperate at some point, and that's certainly what that was. But this is what I've been talking about, how important this area of the map is, and how much Cumberland are getting it for free consistently. They know what they need to do.
I mean, yeah,
on these ecos that they've tried to take it, but
we really haven't seen, like, we've seen some defaults, but it hasn't been so, like, fruitful for them either. It's like a perfect storm here for Cumberland because at this point, the confidence is on their side. The fact that you can't convert an eco into a snowball is just like, it's such a just insane way of playing this game. Because, mind you, we have yet to see a plant go down.
Wow.
We have yet to see, it is not, round number 10, no plant.
Yeah, they're running out of chances.
Like, there's been not a single defuse. Every single round that has been won by the defensive side was by fighting.
To be fair, they did get a plant on the round they won today. It just didn't.
True. Yeah. It just. I guess what I mean to say is that it has never been a significant point for the defensive side to worry about the spike going down because they just win by fighting.
Oh, don't go through into this. Good. Using the clone to bait out all the utility. Critical. Now the paranoia comes in. Very scary position. Great layering of utility, but Woody arrives on scene. He bails him out big time, and now the Steel Guard comes through. Oh, no.
Just the highest value player, Woody, has been absolutely insane on this initiator role. And they bring it back tighter, but it's very dicey still. You're disjointed from the spike. You have lackluster utility as the Viper. It's just a matter of winning these ones. The timings, not in favor of ladder moves.
Ah, it's tragic. It is odd and complicated for two reasons, right? Because the defense doesn't know the spike's down, but I don't think that ladder moves knew that the defense didn't know, if that makes sense.
Man.
They were playing a little bit of a different game, the two sides, but ultimately it comes to the same conclusion, and that's the Cumberland are out on top.
And Cumberland has just looked so clinical in terms of the way that they've been playing this. Their reads have been really good. Their aim has also just been really good in general. And I think, again, it just boils down to a little bit of confidence, right? They're like, hey, we won on this previously. We're just going to continue our roll. Like, no problem. Okay.
Oh, showstopper.
Okay. That's
freebie.
No way.
And he doesn't get hit by the aftershock either. That's devastating. Dodge on the flash, Shooter. How about another? Oh my lord, Shooter. Are you serious? He can't be stopped.
This is crazy. They can't even call. I mean, they could potentially call a second time out here. It's just the mental battle has been won, and we have not seen much out of them. A bone that I can throw maybe to Baker's side is the fact that there's an ultimate here for Ice Ballin. Sure. But even then, you have 4 players. 4 players. Not to be a kill count Kathy, guys. Double digits for 4 players on the enemy roster. Whereas your top frag hasn't even broken double digits.
I think they might be cooked.
No way, you said. No way, Vincent. You're just...
I just think they might simply be cooked on that one. It's a tough pill to swallow.
Walking into the B site where there is just a kill gallery. It's not even a shooting range. Fate's gonna be the only one to find one at this point, but even then, it's like, are they gonna try and enter onto the A site?
God, it's not over yet.
It really is. Another 4K for Shooter.
I mean, Shooter, unstoppable, untouchable. And that's, I mean, listen, I'm not going to say I expected this because that would be me lying for fun on the internet. But I did say Shooter very much missing on map number 1. Very odd to see that. I kind of had a feeling I might just power him up on map number 2. Something to prove is what it seems to me.
That was their defensive side. That was their defensive side. This is an attack sided map. I mean, it's very this map is retake heavy on the defense, and we haven't really seen they haven't needed to retake because they've just been able to fight. And the times where they do retake, they just fight their way forward with really executed combinations of utility to set Shooter up. It's like, oh yeah, you know, Pearl, that was just a warm-up.
Well, pistol round, I mean, it would truly put the cherry on top. Big trade initially. Shooter not able to connect. So many here, and ladder moves turns around the other side of that corner. There's a pistol that can maybe get Baker back in.
Oh, sigh of relief. That's gotta be like huge. Ooh, okay. Maybe we could start building something here. This is where they're gonna need to start building something. Gonna buy up. Everyone has a weapon. What do they need?
Hold on. You know what they need? To win a friggin' anti-eco.
Do you have the stats? Do you have the stats of
anti-eco? I don't, but it's bad. I mean, they won a couple of them, I'm certain, on their A4 half, but like, since the beginning of the second half of Pearl, I think it's 0. It might be 0.
Wait a minute. So they picked up one towards B. You have a Fausto buying a Stinger, playing it like it's G2 out here. Rice Ballin being pushed back. They have the A site. You're talking about winning an eco. There's no way. An upgrade's found for Fausto as well. This is, when you said cooked, they might have just been left on the grill too long, unfortunately.
I mean, win an eco challenge impossible, gone sideways. I don't know what to tell you.
My favorite YouTube title, honestly.
Seriously. It's not done yet, though. Keep in mind, never mind, it might be over.
No. Just watch. Fausto is going to find another one here. Fate gets one.
So
Smoke
far away.
The smoke dissipate Fate on the other end of this. There's Faut getting the 4. Now needs to get the 8. And is just going to not find it. Do they have time? They do have time. How
they do.
We got cooked. There's no way.
What I said.
How are both of these teams so pendulum momentum swinging? You have 3 players on the site. I am like full ranting now because you have everyone on the site. You've picked things up. You invested off the eco. You have a player with a 4K momentum, and Fausto isn't able to well, obviously, yes, you can't fault the player, but the rest of the team is not able to capitalize on 1 kill on ladder moves.
It's tough because I think that, you know, like us, Cumberland kind of thought they had that one won. Didn't really expect ladder moves, to come back in so late because he was so far away. That's what I was pointing out, that it was forever away from Fate. And so Fate was out on an island. That normally won't work out, but this time it simply does. That was the eco, by the way. They didn't actually full invest into that round, so now they have real guns.
Even then, that's like, you only had 1 player buying a Stinger. Doesn't even matter. That player got a 4K off of it. They have money to spare. I just wonder, this mound stack though, it's not gonna work out. They peel away from it, but there's still 3 players posted up here.
Surely a way back in. There it is. Unfortunately, not going to be towards C. Easy enough once you get that opening pick. They look to re-clear. Ladder moves sending in with Demon. JP in a perfect location. Maybe the double. Yes, it will be. A pair of frags available there for JP. And now, I mean, the round is on its head. It should be over. I say should be after last round. I really feel like there's no guarantees, no certainties in this world.
I'm gonna hedge my bets and only say the fact that Breach has utility still up. I hope at least still a refreshing utility. Oh, backstab. It's gonna get found. They've tightened the race just a little bit here. Door's gonna open. Lackluster utility here. There's that stun. The refresh is good. Did it hit? No, it didn't hit Nami. So now they're able to enter. Flash comes through. Fausto needed to make up for the deficit they brought up previously. You flashed yourself within that. Fate now got put in the test. How did you flash yourself? What are these rounds? These utility usages, like
I don't want to be too harsh on that because that just does happen, but it's just the worst time for it to happen in reality. And I hate to see it because, I mean, Cumberland, now they're not just in the driver's seat. They've got the pedal to the metal. There simply isn't any brakes. They've uninstalled them, illegal as that might have been.
I mean, have you seen? I mean, you have. We've been here together. You saw the opening half. J-Fon's just gonna immediately take down Demon. Understands they have the numbers. Gets out for free. No recourse. And they can just keep abusing this A site. Shooter waits for timing, pops out, finds 1, finds 2. Because why not? It's just a full-on eco here. It's truly the meme of like, wrap it up. We got it. It's up to ladder moves. I mean, previously they were the heel of the story when we thought it would be another eco lost. And they were the ones that brought it back. Are they going to be able to do it again? No, they're not.
Yeah, it's hard to even, like, convince myself about that possibility.
This is a good timeout, and I want to bring this up just because previously on on Lotus on Valorant Esports, this was a 13-10 map between these two teams. We just because they went back for this and they're like, Baker was like, oh yeah, we can come back into this and like try and take down Cumberland in a grudge match, doesn't mean Cumberland was like waiting. They clearly have leveled up to deny, like they VOD review, they looked at their Lotus because they probably weren't happy. Lotus was most likely their map pick and they're like, okay, we need to fix everything, and they've just been outmatched.
Yeah, I it's hard to like poke any holes in that reality. That I mean, when the score is like this, and you say good timeout, but not that it's particularly easy to call this to be any earlier.
It's a good timeout for me, so I can yap.
It's too late, but not because they should have done it better or earlier, just because it feels too far gone. Don't know if I'm making any sense, but
No,
what
you are,
I do know.
to me you are, because it's just like, it feels like you're trying to, oh my, I can't even think of a good analogy for this. They started the chest compressions they literally started the chest compressions too late.
Yeah.
The only one that's very brutal, but it's real.
Might have arrived a little too late for that one. Oh, this is scary. If Demon were to take that fight.
It was a good set play for them, almost like okay, this is what we're going to do, how we're going to set up Demon, but
you say that, but they were so ready.
Yeah.
Cumberland had 3 players ready to fight that.
I think Cumberland was like, oh, our read is just going to be like, okay, we've been fighting into A. They're probably going to fight A or B or C and like really try and get into our spawn. But look who's already got themselves inserted right on the precipice of side, like right on the footstep. How are...
Well, maybe one way back in, get 2 kills, deny the openers. Aftershock comes through, but hold on. Style's already deep. They don't necessarily know that, but they're certainly aware of the possibility. Fake Crabs is... Oh, and it's not going to work. Not on the zip. A 1vx. Woody, he's blind, and that might not be a problem. Those where 2 are coming from, but a triple swing. It's all there.
I was just going to say, I don't think Woody being blind is a... Like, I don't think that is going to be a huge difference maker for Woody's fragging potential. I will say there is a benefit, though, to Baker right now, slowly inching their way up on the board. A timeout, reset their mentals. In my mind, this is a matter of, like... I don't even want to say, like, a war of, like... It's really just a mental battle. And it's one away, so you have to play perfect Valorant every single moment of your game.
Well, they're just going to send it in. Nightfall comes through, and the TP into the spawn is good enough for Nami to go down. Wait a second, hold on. It's looking good. Shooter pops the showstopper, but gets nothing from it. Spike not yet inclined to get down on the site proper either.
They finally realized, okay, Cumberland just goes fast, execs on a site and plant. We just need to retake faster and rotate faster. They're not faking. We are not defaulting into this. They are straight up just being aggro. Now they're going to try and do the same. Steel card and use. It's so perfect. It's going to prevent these 2 players on the flank.
Oh, it's nasty.
Mound control.
I mean, that should close it there. On the open, though. Shooter gets caught. Great flashbang, but oh no. Doesn't matter. Reload comes in. They're both here. They're both here, and they're low. And they're low. Ring around the rose. Each Bowen. He's playing a dangerous game in the pre-fire to end the series. The Swarm eliminated. And it's Cumberland Phoenix that step forward and get that rematch opportunity against Northwood.
I think my position on cams here, Vincent, just tells the whole story of, like, I saw that and I was like, they're playing their life so well. And again, the read was good, but it was just a little late, because when you have such a dominant half, it doesn't matter if it's a slow start for you could just bounce back and win it out. And in this grudge match, it seems like Cumberland still remain on top and don't get eliminated here.
Yeah, you said the whole story. I think it's the horror story, actually. Truly, for me, the definition of this series is how devastating it is for us to see Baker not win on those anti-ecos. Like, you just have to listen. There's a lot of like reasons why those went wrong, and some of them are controllable, others aren't. But as a whole, that is a consistent theme that cannot be there if you're going to win
Oh, yeah.
series. Period. End of day.